Hi, I'm Broc Romanek, editor of thecorporatecouncil.net. This is a video to explain the hiring process at the SEC. It's not a recruitment video. In fact, because of the downturn in the legal profession right now, the SEC is flooded with resumes. The first step of this video is to explain who I am. I've actually worked at the SEC twice. First, I was an intern there during law school. I went to the University of Maryland Law School, which is close to the headquarters in D.C., and then was hired right out of law school in the late 80s in the Division of Corporation Finance. I then went to work for two law firms and returned to the SEC in the mid-90s for my second tour of duty. While in my second tour of duty in the Division of Corporation Finance, I was the enforcement liaison to the Division of Enforcement, so I got a little taste of what that was like. Then I ended up working for one of the commissioners as a counselor, and in that capacity got access to all the other divisions and offices. So I have a pretty good sense of what the SEC is like, and through my current position I do a lot of networking and know a lot of SEC alumni as well as existing staffers. Why the SEC? Despite the pretty immense reputational hit that the SEC has taken over the past year due to its perceived role in the financial crisis, the SEC is still considered one of the finest government agencies to work for in D.C. and historically has always been thought of one as the best. A lot of great talents have come through the SEC and still exist there. As you know, a lot of the big law firms in New York hire only out of the best law schools, and some of those law schools also send people to the SEC that wind up serving on the staff for many, many years for their career. It's a great training ground. You get to learn from people that have been in the throes of hardcore securities law for many, many years. When you're out in private practice, you probably do some securities law, but not all of it. It's usually a varied practice. So when you're at the SEC, you really concentrate on the federal securities laws. And it's a great place to meet people. There are people there from all over the country with all different types of backgrounds. And if you end up staying there for your career, the benefits are great working in the government. The hours are not bad, although you do probably work more than the 40 hours that you might expect. But there's also a lot of flexibility in the government these days. You can work from home, a lot of teleworking. Some people work from home entirely, so that's not a bad gig. Does it help to know someone at the SEC to try to get a job there? Of course it might help, but unlike most jobs in the private sector, it's definitely not critical. Networking in this case probably won't help you too much. If you know someone, you might get an interview, but it definitely won't secure a job for you. And that's one of the benefits, I think, of approaching the SEC is that most hires are made without any prior relationship. So everyone's sort of on an even playing field going in if you get the interview. The key, of course, is getting the interview. And so that's that. What is the SEC looking for when they conduct the interview? That's really a matter of who is actually conducting the hiring process. That'll change from time to time within a division or within an office. And so it's really hard to say generally, just like any other place you would interview. Your pedigree is not necessarily critical. This is not like Wall Street law firms where being in the top percentage of a very top law school really matters. Of course, those sort of things help, I think, when interviewing with the SEC, but not critical. They have been doing a lot more lateral hiring these days, particularly in the Division of Corporation Finance. In the past, CorpFin did a lot of that hiring right out of law school. Now that tends to be pretty rare. And of course, for lateral hires, experience matters. They're going to look and see that how much securities law that you know. But at the end of the day, it's all a matter of luck, just like most things in life. Process at the SEC. Again, that's going to depend on who's conducting the hiring, but typically there's only one round of interviews. You'll go in to one of the SEC's office, whatever, either headquarters in DC or one of the regional offices, and meet different people. You'll probably meet someone that'll kind of screen you, and if you pass that threshold, you'll go on to meet a couple of the other people in the division. And then you'll hear whether you got the job or not. There's usually not the grueling process in the private sector where you'll go in for 3-4 rounds of interviews. In terms of when you'll hear, it could take months, it could take weeks, it could take a day. I have heard of one or two people getting interviewed solely over the phone and not having to travel into DC to have that interview being conducted. I'm not sure if that's something that is extremely rare or that's happening more often these days. But the key is to try to get the SEC to make a decision quickly, because there are frequent hiring freezes in the government, and the SEC's hands are tied. Even if they want to hire you, once those hiring freezes are put on, you're going to be stuck for a while. Good luck.